The oversimplified definition of a licker would be that it is a creature brought into existence by a secondary metamorphosis of a zombie. How did this metamorphosis occur in the first place? Well, the answer lies in an unnamed variant of the so-called E strain, which infects zombies that have managed to sustain their high metabolism by consuming exceptionally large amounts of biomass. Needless to say, a zombie has to be a pro at doing the whole zombie thing if it wants to get promoted to the status of a licker. And in this video, we're going to explore everything there is to explore about the lickers before looking into their various types that have made appearances in the entire Resident Evil universe, including movies and comics. But before I begin, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons. These two small clicks from you will help us tremendously in bringing you more of these marvelous videos. And now, let's get this started. What's up with the anatomy of lickers? While these monsters may differ from each other in certain respects, a few of their anatomical attributes unite them as a special monster species, if you will. You will often find that most lickers have an expanded brain that is housed in a skullless head. Underneath this exposed brain, you would not find any eyes or even skin. In contrast, you will find substantive and newly formed muscles in addition to a now reformed bone structure. So their entire body seems less and less humanoid. For offense, the lickers have large, powerful, and sharp talons, but that's not all. They also have these barbed tongues that can easily decapitate prey and pierce through flesh. What can be termed as a weakness is their extreme sensitivity to sound. Now, the biology of a licker may sound similar to that of a crimson head, but the two are extremely different. In fact, crimson heads come into existence because of a separate T-virus strain and the VACT effect. With that said, I think it's time to explore how the first licker came into existence. History of lickers. The first known appearance of a licker can actually be traced back to the latter part of 1998. These lickers had mutated into what they are through an unnamed strain. When they were first discovered, the researchers at Umbrella thought they were a wilder and more vicious variant of the tyrants. They needed to be studied and were therefore kept in the Birkin's lab, which was a testing and research facility situated beneath one of Umbrella's chemical plants. But, as it happens, evil can seldom be contained, and the licker test subjects escaped from Birkin's lab when Hunk, an Umbrella security service provider, led his squad to raid the facility. Almost nothing is known about Hunk's past, not even his real name. All we know is that he is cold, silent, and devoid of emotion. He is ruthless and willing to complete a mission by any means necessary. Licker colonies. On the fateful night of September 23rd, it so happened that the variant strain at Nest leaked out and eventually contaminated the drinking water supply of Raccoon City. What's Nest? It was a large subterranean laboratory complex located in the Arklay Mountains not far from Raccoon City and directly beneath the Umbrella chemical plant. Moving on, the contaminated water risked affecting, or rather infecting, tens of thousands of people, and each one of these infected people was capable of turning into a licker. It took not more than a few days for an entire licker colony to pop up, more specifically at Apple Inn, which was basically a hotel that had caught fire. Being the first of their kind, these primitive lickers did not have any of the typical licker features such as the signature claws, increased muscle growth, expanded brains, etc. Clearly, these features developed in lickers after several stages of transmutation. On the night of September 27th in 1998, a large group of zombies besieged the premises of Raccoon City Police Station, and this is where the second licker colony came into existence. Several of these creatures killed the remaining survivors who had taken refuge within the building. Those who survived the massacre, including David Ford, took to name the transmuted zombies lickers, thanks to their unusually long tongues. The region had ample food and, owing to this, the second licker colony thrived well here. Later, Claire Redfield and Leon S. Kennedy would also encounter them, more specifically on the night of September 29th, 2 days after the attack on the Raccoon City Police Station. That's not all though. Another colony existed, but we don't know when it started. While Ark Thompson was traveling through Sheena Island during the November of '98, he encountered a third colony of lickers. It is unknown if these lickers were originally the residents of that place, or just test subjects who managed to escape. Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine came across a premature variety of the lickers while Chris and Jill were executing a raid in February 2003 on the Umbrella Caucasus facility. Here, Albert Wesker had caused a leak of the T-virus, which led to all the staff getting infected. Now, these were the initial few colonies of the lickers, but things got much worse because someone decided it would be nice to carry out Mass production of liquors. It must be evident by now that liquors gained widespread popularity, or rather, notoriety, as the recounted horror stories concerning the creatures traveled far and wide through the survivors of the Raccoon City incident. The Raccoon trials further solidified and mythologized the liquors, which in turn generated popularity and interest of the bad guys in liquors. You see, black market producers and their buyers wanted to use liquors as bioweapons, so much so that the demand for the liquors pretty much exceeded the demand for the hunter species. In 2009, some 11 years after the first outbreak, a researcher named Miguel used the progenitor virus to create a stable derivative species of liquors, and Tricell used Miguel's work to mass produce and distribute liquors in the black market. So that was pretty much the origin and development of the primary liquors. With that taken care of, I think it's now time to explore the various types of liquors, and we start with a variant called Number 1. Liquor Beta. These beta variants of liquors were slightly enhanced versions of their predecessors and were far bulkier and weightier than the regular liquors. An additional advantage that these guys had was that they could reproduce. However, with the larger size, an unavoidable disadvantage that came was decreased speed and mobility. Additionally, their hearts were exposed and existed out of the ribcage, which made them rather easier to kill. Tricell was not a fan of the beta variant though, majorly because of their innate blindness. We get to see more of the beta variant in the short film called Las Plagas, Organisms of War. During the Kijuju Autonomous Zone incident, which was a large-scale outbreak of the Plaga bioweapon in the Kijuju in West Africa, Bioterrorism Security Assessment Intelligence agents Chris Redfield and Shiva Alomar encountered the beta variants. In the year 2010, Type 4 Plaga parasites were successfully implanted into the beta species liquors, only to be supplied in large numbers to Svetlana Belikova, the president of the Eastern Slav Republic. You see, these Plaga-infected liquors basically served as slaves to humans who had injected themselves with the dominant strain of the parasite, so much so that the liquors became docile and playful creatures to these humans. In the post-Soviet Eastern Bloc, everyone was looking to gain power so as to become a geopolitical powerhouse in the region. President Belikova was no different, and to further her agenda, she wanted to control the land owned and controlled by the Cossack-led pro-independence forces. More than the land, she was interested in the oil that the land held, and this oil could have come in handy to ensure her nation's sovereignty and the larger goal of making it the powerhouse of the Soviet Eastern Bloc. To distribute the new variants of liquors, President Belikova used a shell company called Mood Yuri, but she also sent intentionally defective Plaga to the leaders of the rebel forces. Needless to say, this was done with the sole purpose of bringing about a nationwide biohazard, which would ensure a heavy blow to the guerrilla forces within. Additionally, this would ensure that the UN and BSAA would see the freedom fighters as little more than bioterrorists, which in turn would solidify Belikova's legitimacy. However, the plans would not see the light of day because of people like Geda Wong, Leon S. Kennedy, and Alexander Kozachenko. Number 2. Amphibian Lickers. In 2015, the Alcatraz island found itself in a serious biohazardous mess. Roaming the prison corridors, cell blocks, and wave-hammered drainage pipes were amphibian lickers, a slick new version of the classic wall crawler beta variant unleashed during the outbreak at Alcatraz Island. For this new and improved version of the lickers, we have bioterror ringleaders Dylan Blake and Maria Gomez to blame. They raided every leftover gadget Glen Arias and Agua Industries left behind, then forged an aquatic remix of the liquor beta. Their recipe leaned on a fresh T-virus strain blended with slices of the A-virus. Meanwhile, captive virologist Dr. Antonio Taylor had to turn test subjects into live incubators for clouds of mosquito biodrones, pocket-sized carriers that spread infection faster than gossip. The finished predator kept each trick the old beta flaunted: vertical leaps, ceiling scuttles, rapid reproduction, yet ditched its single most important weakness, that bulging heart sticking out of the chest. The amphibian liquor also had some extra hardware followed. It sported a whipped tail, webbed digits for turbo swim speed, and gill-like flaps similar to an axolotl, which allowed the beast to inhale, filter, and vent oxygen beneath the surface for as long as it pleased. Even the jaw looked unreal. The lower mandible split in two, giving a 3-part bite likely triggered by dormant Plaga genes spliced into the viral mix during prototype trials. These upgrades let the creature stalk prey in sewers, open surf, or dry concrete walls with equal menace, tearing through iron grates or slipping behind victims without a ripple. Durability, though, dropped hard. Leon S. Kennedy and Jill Valentine exposed that flaw in the Alcatraz tunnels. One clean headshot knocked a mutant flat. An older Licker would shrug off that hit. Minutes later, Leon stacked 3 gasoline tanks, squeezed the trigger, and blasted a whole pack into blazing debris. Earlier models might limp away scorched. This amphibian batch disintegrated into ash and drifted through the floodwater. When Blake and Gomez died and their underground lab blew sky high, the bloodline ended on the spot. No facility, no breeders, no amphibian lickers. Extinct. At least until another loose cannon digs up the wrong virus sample. Number 3. Uber Lickers. Umbrella lived for biohorror, and the Uber Liquor proves it. Built inside Umbrella Prime, which was basically the frozen vault hidden under Siberia's ice, this brute took the regular liquor mold and dialed every feature into overkill territory. Engineers at Prime pieced together at least one specimen for the Moscow Scenario 12B combat sim. The brief was to wipe Leon Kennedy's strike squad and hand research staff clean data. Once loose, the monster bit off Sergei Vladimir's head, then locked on to the rest of the unit. Alice rammed a car into its flank. The blow spun the creature across broken concrete, yet paused it only for a heartbeat. It sprang up, barreled after Alice's crew, and steamrolled every Las Plagas undead unlucky enough to block the hallway. Alice fought back with demolition. She set off charges that dropped a subway ceiling, burying the bioweapon under a mountain of rubble. The grave failed to hold. The Licker crawled out, wrapped Sergei's headless corpse inside a resin cocoon, and resumed the hunt. Barry Burton took savage wounds, while Good Rain died when the beast hurled her into reinforced wall panels, neck snapping on impact. A forked, barbed tongue then lashed out, grabbed young Becky, and hauled her up an elevator shaft to a hidden nest where another cocoon awaited. Alice climbed after them, tracking the pair into a clone factory bay full of flickering lights and shattered pods. The creature lunged. Alice fired a grenade into its gaping maw and used Ada's grappling hook to whip herself and Becky clear. The blast tore the Uber Licker apart, moments before the entire underwater complex collapsed. Umbrella did not keep the design in one bunker. During the desperate defense of the White House, several Uber Lickers crawled over marble walls beside endless waves of undead. Battle logs show every unit fell with the defenders, and any hidden survivors rotted once the airborne antivirus swept the globe. The Uber Licker stands as tall as a small cottage, yet moves with brutal speed. A split tongue reels in grown adults. Razor claws rip steel, and exposed muscle shrugs off rifle fire despite the lack of skin. The beast spits thick resin that hardens into coffin-like cocoons. Victims stay alive and, oddly, remain unaffected, even though the shell likely drips with T-virus compounds. Field reports hint Umbrella cloned this project in other labs. Sightings around Washington, D.C. back that up, though none appear to have lived past the antivirus purge. Number 4. Lickers in the Anderson Film Universe. Constantine Film released 6 live-action Resident Evil films under writer-director Paul W.S. Anderson, starting with the 2002 opener Resident Evil and wrapping with Resident Evil: The Final Chapter in 2017. Critics chewed them up, yet moviegoers kept buying tickets. The series raked in more than $1.3 billion worldwide, making it the highest-earning video game film franchise ever. Once cameras stopped on The Final Chapter, Constantine Film shifted focus to a reboot set to lean back into pure horror. Johannes Roberts took the helm as writer-director, launching Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City in 2021. The new run shares zero continuity with Anderson's timeline and aims to mirror the games much more closely. Among the nastiest creatures stalking both series sits the Licker, which in the movies is a bioweapon born when live human tissue gets pumped full of T-virus. The first Licker crawled to life inside the Hive laboratory beneath Raccoon City during human testing with the T-virus. Data pulled from those trials pushed Umbrella to run a full production line, not only in the Hive, but also at Umbrella Prime, where the beasts doubled as grisly party tricks for potential black market clients. Security agent Spence, bribed to sabotage the Hive, released the virus inside the underground base. When Umbrella's sanitation squad dropped in to assess the mess, a Licker slipped out of its tank. The Red Queen AI let the monster loose, figuring dead investigators meant no witnesses. The creature shredded Spence first, then hitched a ride on the outbound train bound for the Looking Glass house hidden in the Arklay Mountains. Kaplan fell during that chase, and the Licker itself met its end soon after. Either on direct instruction or from the AI shutdown, more Lickers broke free in the chaos, reached topside, and terrorized Raccoon City. Alice took out several inside Ravensgate Church. Lickers mutate from people injected with a T-virus serum, which twists flesh far beyond the effects seen in bite or aerosol victims. Skin peels away entirely, revealing bulging muscle slabs that pack way more punch than any ordinary undead. The skeleton warps into a beast-like frame, forcing a four-limb gait, perfect for bursts of speed and wild agility. Needle-sharp claws dig into concrete and let the creature climb walls and ceilings with lizard ease while doubling as brutal close-quarters weapons. The tongue grows outrageously long and tough, able to yank prey from a distance or slice through flesh like it's nothing. Eyes waste away in the process, so the liquor tracks targets by smell and sound alone. For Anderson's first film, the effects team built a full animatronic liquor, later tweaking muscles and adding the tongue in CGI. During Apocalypse, a fresh animatronic hit the set, but special effects boss Alison O'Brien scrapped it midway, shifting to an all-digital model. To nail the wet, peeled back look, artists studied raw meat in local markets until they found the right color and texture for what O'Brien called a flayed human without actually labeling that way on screen. Early script drafts tagged the beast simply as the creature or the stranger before the final name dropped. On set, cast and crew leaned into dark humor and nicknamed the puppet Clint. Number 5. Modified Lickers. The evolved liquor was bred in the underground lab beneath Umbrella's chemical plant near Raccoon City. Reports never nailed down the exact triggers behind this offshoot. Umbrella kept the strain on site for close observation and possible field use under extreme combat scenarios. Lickers begin as humanoid zombies that stuffed themselves with flesh, giving themselves enough fuel for rapid growth and brutal mutation. The modified liquors share several differences with the ordinary liquors. Visible tweaks mark the upgrade. Skin shows a gray-green shade instead of the gleaming pale red of earlier models. The tongue came out thinner, yet stronger, yanking targets with extra snap. Each front limb swapped multiple talons for one scythe-style claw. Gunfire slows these mutants less than it does baseline liquors, though the exposed brain still spells doom once a shot connects. Number 6. RE3 Liquor. The RE3 Liquor drew on reptile DNA that entered trials in 1998. Several escaped an underground lab in Raccoon City, Pennsylvania that year. Dr. Annette Birkin listed clear flaws: the naked cerebellum plus a roaring metabolism that demanded constant meals. And finally, we have the Number 7. Liquor Zombie. Capcom artists sketched a liquor zombie during early planning for the Resident Evil 2 remake. Players unlock the art by clearing the Genius Chemist record or by purchasing the all in-game rewards unlock DLC online. As a special mention, I would like to bring your notice to the Hunter Killer Liquor from the King Fountain Biohazard 2 mythos. So yeah, that was all in this one, folks. See you in the next one.